Well, howdy, y'all. Unky T here. This here video I pulled up from, it's been a while. Some of these ones I mean to get to, and some I don't get to quite as quickly as I'd like to. And then, I see something shiny and I get distracted. But, I just thought I'd put this one out because it's a pretty heinous and horrible crime. The depravity and the evil of some people that are in our society and allowed to be in our society are just horrendous. And I have no idea why they're like that, except they're like that. And we got to find a way of finding who the hell they are and getting them out of our society.
And let me go back and refresh your memory. On January the 3rd at between 1:30 and 1:45 in the afternoon, a horrific event occurred at 7462 Berkeley Road in Polk City, where we found one person who we later determined to be William or Bill Reese, who was deceased from a horrific murder. And a friend that lived with him by the name of Kenneth Mayer was shot and left for dead at the residence. If you remember, at that time, we talked about how Kenneth had staggered out to the road, was leaning on to a large garbage utensil and trying to flag down help. 3 Good Samaritans stopped to help him, summoned EMS and certainly the sheriff's office, and he began to deteriorate. He underwent surgeries and was in tremendously critical condition. Well, I'm here to report to you today he's still in tremendously critical condition. We don't see any improvement. We're praying for the best, but I can tell you at this hour he's fighting for his life. And here's how it began. There was a hurricane, Hurricane Irma, in 2017. It did great damage to Polk County. Subsequent to that hurricane, FEMA, through their contractor, Vanguard, sent some subcontractors in to do damage assessments. And what we found out was Jerwan Jackson did damage assessments for FEMA. And he went to Bill's house. And he did a damage assessment, and he learned at that time that Bill had a collection of firearms and frequently sold firearms. So about 2 weeks after the damage assessment, Jerwan came back to the house and he bought 2 .45 caliber handguns from Bill Reese. Then he returned to Alabama. Sometime after arriving in Alabama, he was arrested for improper possession of those 2 firearms. And Jerwan told some of his buddies, hey, I know where we can go hit a lick, where we can commit a robbery, where we can get a lot of firearms. And he told his buddy, Kenley Campbell and Daryl Rankins, come on, let's go to Florida. And they conspired. They set their plans to leave Mobile, Alabama, in a small gray Chevy Sonic and drive all the way to Polk City, Florida, which they did. They arrived on January the 3rd at between 1:30 and 1:40 in the afternoon. And while they were riding down to Florida, they talked about the robbery, and they were going to rob if conditions were right. If not, he had the money to buy a gun. And along the way, Jerwan told his 2 counterparts, Daryl Rankin and Kenley Campbell, he said, I tell you what, I'm just going to kill him. And they arrived. Daryl Rankin stayed in the car with Kenley Campbell, and Jerwan went to the door. Jerwan had purchased guns from our victim, so the victim obviously opened the door and let him in and went back and apparently sat in his chair, his lounge chair. A conversation occurred, and we don't know what that is because neither of them are here to tell us that. We know what Jerwan said, and he pulled a gun and promptly shot Bill. Shot him 4 times in the head and once in the hand. But he didn't just shoot him 4 times in the head and once in the hand. He said he shot him once and noticed that he was suffering, so he continued to shoot him because he didn't want him to suffer. When the shooting was occurring, then Kenneth hears the noise of the gunshots in the living room, and he comes into the living room, and Jerwan starts shooting him and shoots him twice in the head, shoots him once in the shoulder and I think once in the arm, shoots him 4 times, and he goes down. Well, Daryl and Kinley, who are waiting on the signal to come on in and get the stuff, hear the gunshots. Jerwan comes outside and tells them, "Come on in." They go inside, and we think, we don't have an accurate tally because obviously we've not been able to recover, but we think these 3 murderers stole someplace around 20 or 25 firearms. In addition to the 20 or 25 firearms, they stole a flat screen TV. They stole enough property that it wouldn't all fit in the trunk of their Chevrolet. So they go, well, we'll steal the victim's car or truck. So they stole the victim's blue pickup truck, which there's a before and after picture. That's what it looked like when they drove it away from Polk City. And that's what it looked like after Jerwan torched it in Mobile, Alabama. Our detectives, our homicide detectives, which are simply the very best in the business. Have I mentioned to you lately it's been 8 years since we had an unsolved homicide? We have, for the last 8 years, solved 100% of our homicides. They began the investigation. They determined that both of our victims were shot with a .25 caliber, what we believe to be a semi-automatic pistol, and we have recovered one that met that description. We don't know if it is the firearm until we send it to the lab, and that will occur. But they tracked these guys from Polk City, Florida to Mobile, Alabama. And here's how they did it. We cannot say enough good things about the people of this community and the business owners of this community because guess what? Surveillance video of residences and businesses showed us that our suspects immediately left northbound on Berkeley Road to Highway 33 in Polk City, where they turned and made it east and then a northeast streak up Highway 33 through Groveland. From Groveland they went on Highway 50 and they worked their way back Highway 50 toward the north end of the state and ultimately back to Mobile, Alabama. They immediately contacted the Mobile Police Department and said, hey, we need some help. The Mobile, Alabama Police Department was just absolutely fantastic. They piled in and helped us. We identified Daryl Rankin, Jerwan Jackson, and Kinley Campbell as being the people who arrived in the Chevrolet and departed in the Chevrolet and the Dodge Ram. Kinley and Daryl are only 22 years old. The murderer is 18 years old. So here's what happened. We arrived in Alabama and we figured out that the owner of the car was Kinley. So we worked and we were able to arrest Kinley and Darrell, and both of them confessed. They told us exactly what they did. And they go, "We aren't the shooter. Jerwan Jackson is the shooter." Well, of course, as detectives, they think, yeah, that's convenient. He's not here to tell his story, but that's okay. They confessed. They're the ones that said, Jerwan said, "Here's where we can go hit a lick." Kinley said, "I've got the car." They put their plan together. They drove to Florida. Jerwan says, "Wait here for me."
Right here, there was some kind of glitch, and there's like a 2-minute error in the video, so I don't know what we missed.
He then said that when they arrived in Alabama, that he sold the guns and the flat screen television on the streets in Mobile and burned the truck up. We have recovered the clothing we believe was used in the murder, guns, rubber gloves that they actually purchased and took with them to the murder. We've recovered about 1,000 rounds of ammunition, obviously their electronic devices. We have recovered what we think is clothes with our victim's blood on it. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. So the murder weapon, where'd it come from? Kinley bought that murder weapon on the streets of Mobile and then sold it to Jerwan for about $25. So it was a street gun to begin with. All three of them are charged with first-degree murder and all kinds of other charges and are now in the Metro County Jail in Mobile, Alabama. Interestingly enough, we don't have their juvenile records, but when you look at their adult records, both Darrell, Jerwan, and Kinley, these guys don't have a long, violent, extensive record that we can see unless there's one in the juvenile system. But their adult charges are relatively mild. They don't fit the normal, what we call horrific murderer. And that's what they did. They calculated and planned this very carefully. I can only imagine that they were shocked when only 3 days later, here's the Polk County Sheriff's detectives in Mobile, Alabama, putting them in handcuffs. When you look at this case, as I've had the opportunity to be involved in it, and you see here's two guys minding their own business, no one out here selling drugs, violating the law. Just the man he's a hobbyist and he buys and sells guns, perfectly legal. We've not seen that he did any illegal purchases or sales. He deals with somebody who FEMA sends out with appropriate identification, and the sale went fine. He had no way to know when he sold those two guns for $800 that guy was going to come back and murder him and try to murder Kenneth and take all of his guns. But that's exactly what happened.
Well, there you go, my friends. You know, it just boggles my mind how that people can just heartlessly and without a thought of remorse or anything like that, just go out and plan and kill somebody. Just like that. I mean, normal people, it's hard to conceive how evil these people are. I mean, what the hell is wrong with society that these people are able to just meander around and live amongst us? Like, I understand, never mind, I don't understand shit. Anyway, that's enough of that crap. Subscribe, like, ring the bell. You know what? Have a blessed day. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we'll see you soon. Bye for now.